sat down for a morning meeting this week with San Diego firefighter Hobie Porterfield. Hobie breaks down how to invest in precious metals and helps us understand why buying gold and silver is a great diversifier and why it's a good hedge against inflation. I hope you enjoy it. All right, hey Hobie, welcome to the bullpen. Thanks for meeting me.
Hey, thanks for having me, Kyle.
Yeah, man, it took a little convincing to get you on here, but I finally twisted your arm hard enough to have you here. So I'm really stoked. Thank you.
I'm pretty honored to be on here. You're doing some pretty amazing stuff with this, so thanks for even considering me on this.
No, I appreciate that, man. And the feedback has been good. And the intent of the Firehouse is just present information out to the ranks and let them do with it what they want. And I think they're going to get a lot of value out of listening to your story and the things that you're really good at. So I'm pretty excited, man.
Yeah,
Yeah, go
I
ahead.
am too. Sorry about that, Kyle.
No, it's all good. I was just going to say, how has the last sort of several months with the pandemic affected your life in general, or your life at work, or et cetera?
Well, work, I'm sure you could figure that out too with the academy and stuff being stopped. But yeah, it was, work was a little crazy. We had those couple months with almost, very limited calls because people were afraid to call and do different things, and then switching to busy. And I mean, I think the biggest thing here in my household anyway is that my son actually graduated this year.
Yeah.
So that was a unbelievably interesting time to end his last semester, in high school in quarantine.
Right.
So that was very educational. A drive-by graduation we did. So that turned out excellent. It turned out completely fine. But yeah, it was definitely interesting.
Yeah, he's off to bigger and better things, I understand.
Yeah, he is. He's going to UC Davis. As of right now, it looks like he's still going to be going on time because they don't go until September 30th. So hopefully all that will be okay.
Cool.
So
good. That's good to hear, man. It's hard. It's like, we didn't create any of this stuff, but we just have to figure out a way to adapt and adjust and get through it. And, it's like sort of a microcosm for our career is, hey, we didn't cause these problems, but we are professional problem solvers, and we're going to figure out how to get to the bottom of it and figure it out. It's the same for him trying to figure out his last semester of high school, keeping those grades up to get into an excellent school. He didn't cause the pandemic, but he still figured out a way to grind it out and do the things that he had to do.
Yeah,
that's cool.
Yeah, it's pretty, it's been unbelievable. And then watching how resilient kids can be, that's the other thing too. Like switching out, you had to change rules. One thing that, everything switched on grade wise from A's and B's to passing, so that kind of took all the pressure off of them. And I guess when he went to leave school, on the last day, on the Friday before they went quarantine, they said, whatever your grades were at this particular point, no one's grade will go lower, which he was already A's, which made me more nervous because I'm like, oh man, he's going to be sleeping till like 1 o'clock every day. But it went out. Yeah, for sure.
Well, you know what though, man, I imagine a kid like that, a high performer like him, with high performing parents like you guys is probably just going to figure out a way to grind it through. And we'll look back at this as a weird time in history, but hopefully one that we can all sort of learn from and improve on and just keep grinding on.
Yeah, for sure. Like we both know it could definitely be worse.
Yeah, that's for sure. Well, cool, man. You ready to get this thing on?
Yeah, let's do it.
All right, cool. Well, here comes your first alarm assignment. From the San Diego Fire Department, first alarm has 4 engines in the truck, but here at the Firehouse, I'll ask you 4 questions. You give us 1 piece of advice. That sound good?
Okay, so I'll do the best I can.
Perfect. That's what we're all trying to do, right? All right. Well, on your first alarm, you're going to be first in. So you know that when you're first in, you got to give a size up, and the size up here is going to be who you are, where you work, and how long you've been doing it.
All right. My name is Hobie Porterfield. I'm a firefighter with San Diego City Fire. I work at Station 14 currently, which is North Park, a double house. And I've been on the job a little over 7 years. I came on way later than most people did. So I actually went through academy when I was 41, and I'm almost 49 now.
Awesome. You had a whole career prior to the fire service. You want to just talk about that a little bit?
Yeah, I did. So I was a general contractor for about 11, almost 12 years before I came into this. So I had my own business that I had started and run for quite a few years. And then second marriage, the wife, my wife, Amy, uh, was working for Tony Robbins at the time, and had an idea, and we kind of worked on it and helped her get going with it. And then her business went crazy, and it kind of made my business irrelevant for the first time, which was kind of nice. And uh, I her entire family's firefighters, so they're the ones who kind of got their hands on me and said, "Hey, why don't you, if you're going to do something that you're enjoying, which is what Amy was able to her business, why don't you try firefighting?" So that's kind of how that all came about.
That's
It
awesome.
was never on my radar, man.
Well, but it relates, right? The trades
Yes.
relate perfectly to the fire service, and especially people that come from a construction background. It's a really easy transition, and we talk about either the trades or athletics or things like that. It's just a really easy transition into the fire service. And you mentioned your wife having the relationship with Tony Robbins. We talk about a quote he uses a lot where success leaves clues, and basically what that means is, we don't have to start from scratch with this stuff. There are people that have come before us that have
Yeah.
figured it out. Firefighters that have come before us, or first responders that have come before us, that have had success in their own personal finance or their own, personal literacy, financial literacy, that can help us out. And their success has left clues for us to maybe follow in their footsteps. So that's pretty cool. You and I have talked about sort of precious metals and gold and silver, and you favor palladium. How did that come about? Where did that come from? Where that you don't hear that often sitting around the kitchen
No,
table.
it's kind of interesting because I had some marketing friends of my wife that we hang out with, and this one of the guy, he's pretty known in the industry, but he's always looking for different things, and he's a pretty interesting guy because he's usually spot on whenever he finds different things that he's got an interest in. And he had asked me quite a few years ago about, did I have any metals? And that was something at the time that I didn't know anyone who did personally at that time. But when I started asking around to some other people that I knew that were pretty well diversified portfolios with all kinds of different things, it turned out more people than I knew actually had bought it before and do buy it on a somewhat regular basis. So that got me really interested in starting to look into it. So I
How
was
does the
just
metal?
fortunate to have sorry, Cal, go ahead.
No, go ahead and finish.
I was just fortunate that I had a couple of, like, the house that we have right now is a friend of mine, was our realtor, and he had bought it and put me in contact with the guy that he knew that had told him how to do it. And he more or less walked me step by step on just how to start it out, just to see if I liked it, or, how easy it was.
And what was his recommendation on how, if you're interested in this, how would you even begin to start?
His first thing was to download an app, and there's a ton of different apps that you can do. So you can start following the spot prices of gold. And then you can there's usually, whatever the app is, it's got charts too, and it'll show you like how gold's performed over the you can do daily, weekly, monthly, by year, do the whole history of gold if you want to. And I just kind of started following it, and it was, the guys that I did it because it was, I hate to use the word safe in an investment, but it was a low risk investment that usually has a decent turnaround if you're in it for the long haul. So, and so far, that's how my experience has been. So 5 years ago was the first time that I ever bought, and I was, I think, around 1,100 an ounce for gold, and I think it's over 1,800 an ounce right now. So
Okay.
it's done fairly well.
So you mentioned downloading an app to track the spot prices. Can you just explain what spot price means?
So spot prices, there's a lot of different they're all pretty close though. And what they'll do in the gold market, because gold trades 24 hours a day. It's not like the stock market. So if you look at, if you're looking at, like if you looked up online spot prices, about every 2 seconds, a spot price will change one way or the other. And most of the time it's just by a few cents, 10 cents. Every once in a while it's $10, $20, something like that. But spot prices basically just, they're speculating what gold's worth right at this time, or what it's going to be worth over the very, very near future, like in the 5 minute range of it.
Like on the spot, basically.
Yeah, then that's basically what it is. Like right now, if you were to ask a market guy, how much is gold worth? They would say, okay, you want the spot price. Well, this is what we calculate the spot price on supply and demand and what everyone else is getting for it. So it's kind of a, like an educated guess as to what gold's worth right now.
Okay. And are you then, if I go on one of these apps and I'm checking a spot price, am I buying it at spot price, or is it spot price part plus a markup, or how does that work?
Yeah, there's all markup most of the time on a spot price. And that's been the trickiest part of buying gold. So if you look up like I'm trying to think of an app that I could give people you could kind of follow. So if you do, there's one app called JM Bullion. So JM capital and then it's BUILLON. But you go on JM Bullion, and if you look, you know, they have, there's different ways to navigate the system, but usually the spot price will come up first on when you put that on. They have an app too, and that's the app that I use. They were the ones I got referred to, and I've had no problems with them at all. So they're the ones that I use, but I know that there's probably at least 100 different apps that you can follow and buy gold off of. That I knew someone who had used it and he had no problems. And so far, the times that I've done it, I haven't had a single issue with them. So that's who I use. I'm not saying they're the best, but they're the ones that I've had no problems with at all.
Okay,
So
that makes sense. And we're talking about actual physical gold right now. You're not buying stock in gold. You're buying actual gold.
yeah, that's where I was more interested in, because you know, like all of us try to diversify in, you know, whatever ways we see fit, or you know, however we get steered in different directions. But this was the way it got explained to me, and the way that I like it is, this is something that I'm physically holding, and there's not as many I mean, use a term with, there's not as many hands in the cookie jar as to what can happen with gold prices. Like, you know, so a production fail, something like that. It's not like tomorrow an entire deposit of gold is just going to disappear overnight. Like it, you know, you're never going to hit a home run in a week's time with gold. I mean, at least I haven't seen that yet. I've seen it steadily climb, but it's not one of those things. Gold is definitely more of a, or metals for that matter, are a long-term play. They're definitely not, if you're looking for short-term money, I wouldn't, this would not be that way. This for me is a long-term play.
And
So
that's actually in alignment with a lot of what we talk about at the Firehouse, man, is planning for the long term. Can you talk a little bit about it, Hobie, why gold is a good way of diversifying your portfolio?
well, it's one, like one, you're really not, it has some tie to the stock market, but not, you know, interest rates aren't a major factor in, it's more supply and demand. I mean, so to give you an example, when everything was going crazy, when COVID first started hitting and the stock market crashed like crazy, gold came down about almost $200, I think, an ounce. I think was the most that it had fallen during that time, but it's already $200 more than what it was before it happened. So I think that it opened eyes to a lot of people to be like, you know, I'd like something I could physically hold in my hand. And that was something that I was really interested in too. Like if, you know, for some reason we had some kind of computer crash that ended everybody's you know, ended the whole digital trail, which is what most of us are invested in, unless you have a house and, you know, other things like that. But as far as stocks and bonds and everything else, I wanted something that physically I knew I had in my possession, you know, not the stroke of a keyboard, so to speak. So just one little safety net, is I'd call it a safety net investment, is kind of what I use it as.
No, that makes sense. And the nice thing about it too is that you can carry it across the borders and
Yeah.
take it with you wherever you want to go. And it's actual money no matter where you are in the world. Whereas
Yeah.
if the dollar implodes and goes, we go into hyperinflation or something, if you still have that physical gold with you or silver, you can use that as actual money anywhere in the world. Do I have that right?
Yeah, exactly. And that to me is the other part of it. It's not a single economy based. So the spot price of gold in the United States is exactly the same as it is in the UK, same as it is in, Japan, anywhere across the globe. The spot price is exactly the same everywhere. That doesn't change, and it's not a specific. It's not tied to any one economy from any one country. So that was another reason that I was like in the event of something catastrophic happening, I still have gold and it's still going to be worth whatever the actual physical weight of it is.
Mhm. Yeah,
So
it's the oldest form of currency, and will be forever. While we went off the gold standard during the Nixon administration, it's still
yeah,
it's still currency wherever you are, which is a really important thing for people to understand, especially in a time of sort of political unrest or political uncertainty. We have an election coming up, or the fact that the federal government is pumping out all of this money into our economy. There's a real I don't know, like, if it's a likelihood, but there's a real possibility of inflation being a problem, and gold is
yeah,
traditionally a really good hedge against inflation.
yeah. And that was my whole thing. Like again, I hate using the term safe, but it was the steadiest bet. If that makes it a little more clear, because I mean, there's nothing that's full. We all know that, but it is the longest that I know of, like, secure bet is what it feels like.
Yeah, no, that makes a lot of sense. How does silver sort of play into all this?
So silver, I have silver. It's a way more affordable metal. So I think silver right now is a little over $18 an ounce. Um, but at $18 an ounce, you have to have for any kind of major profit, the way silver's been performing for a while, it is, you'd have to have a pretty large amount for that to be, to make any kind of money on it, on top of your investment. It's kind of more of like a sit still, like putting your money in a savings account that doesn't really have any kind of interest gaining. It's kind of more along those lines.
Okay.
So, and gold's pretty plentiful, or sorry, silver's pretty plentiful. So the silver prices have gone up a few dollars since I bought a while back, but it just, it's, I don't know. There seems to be way more silver deposits, and that's why I don't think that the money moves that much on that one.
But
So that's mine.
yeah, but it's still money, right? It's still currency. If
Yeah,
things blow up, you can take silver with you, and you're still going to be able to exchange it for goods or for whatever you might need if things go really, really haywire.
yeah, absolutely. And that was a reason almost everyone that I've talked to when I was trying to get educated on this that has gold has silver. Because it's just one of those things that it's a relatively inexpensive way to, create another safety net and be a little bit diversified without it hurting too much to pay, $18 for an ounce of silver as opposed to $1,800 for a single ounce of gold. That's that's a leap for some people.
No, definitely. And to give people a sense of, like, would an ounce of gold, would that fill up a wheelbarrow? Would that fill up your hand? What is an ounce of gold?
So I was trying to think of, because you and I had talked about this down at the academy,
Yeah,
to to give you an idea of like 1 ounce of gold. So this is a regular quarter. Hope you can see
yeah,
that pretty
yeah.
well. And then this is 1 ounce of gold. So basically, to me, it's about 3 quarters. So
Oh,
if you're holding it, the weight is probably 3 or 4 quarters is about what it is.
I see.
So that's the difference. And this is 1 ounce of gold. And if you're going to buy gold or anything like that, so usually what you have is you sell it in grams. Gold, this is gold. They sell it in grams and they sell it in troy ounces, is what it is. And a troy ounce is just a little under 3 grams less than a regular ounce, if that helps at all. I mean, you kind of got to get into some different measurements with it, but so gold typically is a 1 ounce investment is how people do, but you can buy it in grams. So, depending on how much money you have, like if you go to any of those sites that we were talking about, they sell 2.5. There's a lot of different size, like gold pieces you can do. The problem with buying them under an ounce is that they put a premium on it.
Sure.
So like say you bought 5 grams of gold, because it's not a full ounce, there's more of a premium on weight that it has. So if you did I think there's 28 grams in an ounce, or 28 grams in an ounce, and you would actually be paying more per ounce for those smaller ones than you would if you just bought like in bulk, like 1 ounce.
Okay.
So it's actually the bigger the amount you get, the less they put the dealers will put a premium on it. So
Yeah, that makes
even
sense.
though you can afford a $150 piece of gold, you're still paying more than you would have if you added it up to 1 ounce. It's cheaper to buy an ounce.
Okay. Yeah, no, that makes sense. There's less that probably goes into the larger pieces. I guess there's probably less manufacturing done or whatever they have to do to it.
Yeah.
What about the huge bars that I see like in the rap videos or the drug dealers carrying around these giant gold bars? What is that? How much is that?
So that's a kilo.
A kilo.
So yeah, a kilo is what you see on that one, and a kilo is a little over 32 ounces. Okay. So it's basically 32 of these things that make up a kilo bar, which is usually about this big. And they're pretty good size. I don't. No one that I know has a kilo.
Yeah.
Because you're probably looking at $59,000 just for one single kilo. I've seen a lot of people have 10 ounce, so if you can basically put together 10 of these, you would see what 10 ounces are. And 10 ounces is probably one of the best deals when you're buying gold. But again, it's 10 ounces. So you're taking that $1,818 an ounce and multiplying times 10, you're looking at $18,000 to buy 10 ounces, which is, it's up to you on how you want to do it. I normally will save up over an extended period of time. And when I have like enough for 10, if I'm going to I try to buy 10 ounces, usually with the 1 ounce ones, because there's a lot of deals when you go over 9, usually over 9 ounces. At 10 ounces, you'll get like a little bit of a break on the premiums. So I'll save up for however long it takes to put that much together and then buy in one big amount.
Okay. Yeah. No, I mean,
I do.
What I'm hearing though is that you don't hang out with rappers or drug dealers.
Like, no.
Neither do I. But I think that's got to. One other thing about it. Is there a difference between just going down to the local pawn shop and buying, let's say, an ounce of gold versus going on one of these websites or applications? And I see different manufacturers. I see different mints of gold. Can you talk a little bit about what the difference is?
Yeah. So there's one thing that if you're going to buy gold, one thing that you have to do, you cannot. If I could stress one thing that I would say to not do for sure. So when you buy like gold, now silver's a little different. Silver, most of the time when you buy silver, it doesn't have this thing called an assay. An assay is you spell ASSAY. And what an assay is on the back of all of these. I don't know if I'm going to put it on there enough that you can see it.
Yeah,
but across the bottom of these packages, every mint does what's called an assay, whether it's a government mint or a private mint. When you buy it and it comes in these sealed containers like this, this is the mint's guarantee that this is 0.999% pure and that this is 1 troy ounce. So if you're buying gold, you have to. For me, I won't buy gold if it doesn't say new with assay, because you can buy gold like a chunk of gold, but there's no one guaranteeing that. Like there's no guarantee. And I've heard horror stories. I don't know anyone personally, but I've had friends of friends that have said that they bought like an ounce of gold and it turned out that it was like lead on the inside. It was just plated. stuff. So to avoid getting ripped off by that, which does happen at the mom and pop shops that you can go into, you've got to make sure if you're buying gold, you got to have an assay with it.
That makes a lot of sense, man. It's just like a way of protecting yourself. It's like an insurance sort of thing.
Yeah. And that's exactly it. Because when you buy like most silver doesn't have an assay. And you don't need to worry about it that much with silver. You do platinum. If you are into buying platinum is the exact same way. The case looks exactly the same as that 1 ounce of gold that you see right there, and it comes with an assay. Palladium, one that you and I have talked about a little bit. Palladium has an assay as well. If you were going to buy copper, which you can buy copper too, copper is as far as an investment, a really inexpensive way of buying a lot. And it comes in everything from grams to ounces to pounds. So copper's, but it's also way cheaper. And it's just not like when you look precious metals up, it's usually palladium, platinum, silver, and gold is what you'll see. But you have to look a little more to find the copper because it's a rising thing, but it's, you can pay. I'm trying to think what I paid the last time. I bought 5 pounds of copper, and I think it was like $79 or something like that. And I mean,
My
you can.
my only experience with copper is I had a former rental where they went in there and tore all the copper pipes out. And
Yeah,
melted them down. So there is some value to it.
there is some value. There is.
But that's my only experience with the copper. Hobie, looking back, is there anything you would have done differently knowing now what you do? Is there anything you'd change?
Yeah, I think. I mean, it's hard because when you're first learning how and trying to do it, you're hesitant and you wait and you wait and you wait and you wait, and then you realize by the time you bought it that you could have pulled the trigger. I kind of wish I had bought maybe a little bit sooner than what I did buy at. I kind of sat on the idea of it for probably a solid 2 years before I finally went ahead and bought it. And I mean, it's been great since I did it, but it's not something that's so readily talked about that you just run out and do it. I just couldn't believe that it was something you could actually do because I never knew anyone growing up that had owned gold or at least talked about it. And I think that now that I'm kind of in it a little bit, I think a part of it is because people don't want other people to know that they actually physically have it. Like it's like a security, you feel a little strange talking about like I have this or where I have something, it's a little revealing, I guess would be it. And I think that's why a lot of people that do have it don't talk about it all that much.
Yeah, no, and that makes sense. And it is one of those ones that is a little bit outside of the norm,
Yeah.
for the reasons you talked about. But having these conversations is literally why the Firehouse exists, and opening up the possibility for people to just understand that this is another way of hedging against inflation, sort of
Yeah.
protecting the wealth that you've been working hard to gain. And I think it's an important conversation to have. And probably the security piece of this is we can save for another time, but I think it's just important to get this information out. And with that in mind, is there a piece of advice that you could give first responders either starting out trying to get involved in the metals, or people that are already invested in it? Is there something that comes to mind about that?
Yeah, I mean, to me, one of the things that, and I think you and I have talked about this before, if you're going to ask somebody about it, make sure that they've actually done it. So, secondhand, third hand information I am not a second or third hand information guy. I will never make a decision based on a friend of a friend. I will never make a decision on someone who sounds like they really know what they're talking about. But my first question to everybody is always, have you done that? And if you tell me you have, then we're going to have great conversations because I want to hear everything that you have like a sponge. If you haven't done it, not that I won't listen to you, but yeah, I'm going to search elsewhere for, my information. That's my opinion. Like, there's a lot of different retirement ideas. There's a lot of diversity ideas, and some of them come, from directions that have never been traveled before. And blindly following somebody, I think, is what a lot of us do our entire lives. You know, it's just kind of the way things are. And I would avoid that. That would be probably my biggest piece of advice. Firsthand information is what you're seeking.
Oh, that's just perfect, man. I love that. And as it relates to personal finance, that resonates a lot with me as an instructor at the Fire Academy. I think that's just really, really perfect advice, man. And yeah, with that, it looks like you got knocked down on your first alarm, bud. Uh,
Thanks, man.
so if people are interested in knowing more about this stuff, where could they find you?
Uh, you know, you can. Yeah, I don't have any kind of website or anything like that, but I mean, I'm fine with anyone contacting me off of the roster, or, you know, just openly talking to me is pretty easy. Or if somebody has a personal question, you can Hobie Porterfield at gmail.com. You're welcome to send me an email. And if I know, I'll tell you. And if I don't, I'll also tell you I don't know. I'm not going to tell you anything that I don't know. But yeah, if people have questions and they're interested in doing it, you can email it. That's probably the easy way. Yeah, I was trying to think of there was one other thing I was worried about when you were asking me if I could tell people to be wary. One thing I got told that I'm glad I listened to was I'm not really into coins. So I don't do gold coins because you're really guessing and speculating on what's going to be valuable. And when it comes down to it, the coin itself, if for some reason the one you bought isn't collectible anymore, it's only going to be worth what the weight of the gold is actually worth. So I stay away from like coins and other type of gold currency. I pretty much stay just with those, with the gold bar, like what you saw on there.
Well,
My 2 cents.
that's going to break the heart of everybody out there listening that was hoping to get a bunch of gold coins and put them in a swimming pool and swim around like but that is important, an important piece of advice too there, Hobie. So I think that's really awesome, man. And yeah, I want to just say thank you for your time again today and for your service to our city. And yeah, it's just been a joy having you on.
Cool. Thanks, Kyle. And keep up what you're doing, man. This is big. I'm pretty proud of you, man. So keep it up.
You got it. My pleasure. All right, thanks again to Hobie for meeting me here in the bullpen. I really like his approach to investing in precious metals as a way to not only diversify his portfolio, but also a way of protecting himself in the case of an emergency. If you'd like to learn more about him, you can email him at hobieporterfield at gmail.com. That's HOBIEPORTERFIELD at gmail.com. If you'd like to learn more about us, you can find us on Facebook at the FIREhouse. That's F.I.R.E.house. On Instagram, the _fire_house. On LinkedIn, the Firehouse Investors, or any place you listen to podcasts. If you learned something today and you'd like to hear more, please like, share, and subscribe, but no matter what you do. Take this information, go out there, and get some. Station F.